All right, welcome in everyone to another deep dive. Today we're taking a closer look at something pretty important in the world of cloud security.
You got it. It's something that you might not have heard of before, but it's getting more and more crucial as we move more and more stuff to the cloud. We're talking about cloud infrastructure entitlement management.
Okay, CIEMM.
Yeah, CIMM. It's a mouthful, I know, but think of it as like a specialized security guard for your cloud data. Someone who makes absolutely sure that only the right people have access to the right information.
Okay, I like that analogy. At its core, it's about controlling access and making sure we know exactly who's doing what in the cloud, right?
Exactly, but it's way more than just that. I mean, think about it. The cloud is not like your old server room where you could like physically lock things down.
hmm
It's a different beast altogether.
Right, and I guess that's where traditional security tools start to fall short.
Absolutely. Like your privilege access management or PM, those are built for a world where everything was nicely tucked away on premises. They just weren't designed to deal with the sheer scale and constant change that you see in the cloud.
Right, and we were talking about tons of data here. Huge amounts of it.
Oh, yeah. We're talking millions, potentially even billions of permissions across all these different cloud platforms. Think AWS, Azure, GCP, the whole shebang. Trying to manage all of that with traditional tools, forget about it. It's like herding cats, pure chaos.
Okay, so that's where CIM swoops in to save the day.
You got it. CIM brings that control and that super important visibility that's just missing with those older tools. One of the biggest things it does is entitlement visibility. It's like having a live, always updated map that shows you all your cloud resources and who can access what.
So it's not just a static list then.
No way. This thing is dynamic, real time. It's constantly updating, which is so crucial in the cloud
Yeah.
because things are changing literally every minute.
Makes sense. I mean, cloud environments can grow and change incredibly quickly.
Yeah.
But is just having visibility enough? Does CIM actually do something about it?
Of course, CIM is proactive. It actually manages permissions through what we call right-sizing.
Right sizing. Okay, tell me more about that.
So picture this. You have a developer who just needs to access a specific database for like a week to work on a specific project. With CIM, you can grant them that access for exactly that week, and then boom, it's automatically revoked once the project's done. That way, they don't have any extra permissions hanging around that they don't actually need.
Got it. So it's about making sure folks have just the right access at just the right time and nothing more.
Exactly. And the cool thing is, this actually helps speed things up rather than slowing them down like you might think with all this added security.
Interesting. How so?
Well, let's say you need to roll out a new feature for your app. With CIM, you can automate the entire permission process for deployment. It basically streamlines everything so your teams can move much faster. It's like a well-oiled machine.
Wow, so a security tool that actually makes you more agile. That's pretty counterintuitive. But what about when things go wrong? Like, what if someone tries to get into something they shouldn't be accessing? How does CIM deal with that?
That's where the really cool stuff comes in. Advanced analytics. CIM uses these powerful AI and machine learning algorithms to, like, analyze how people are behaving in the system and spot anything fishy.
So it's looking for patterns and red
Yeah.
flags.
Yeah, exactly. Like if
Yeah.
someone suddenly tries to access data they've never touched before, or if they try to log in from, some random country they've never been to, CIM will immediately flag it as potentially suspicious.
It's like having a security guard who not only checks IDs, but can also predict what a bad guy might do.
You got it. But wouldn't that create like a ton of false alarms? People do weird things sometimes that aren't necessarily malicious.
That's true. So how does CIM deal with all that noise?
Well, CIM systems, they're designed to learn as they go. So over time, they get better and better at distinguishing between real threats and, just someone being a little forgetful. Plus, you can fine-tune them to cut down on those false alarms. It's all about finding that balance.
And that makes sense. And it's probably better to err on the side of caution, especially when we're talking sensitive data.
Totally agree. You can't be too careful these days.
Absolutely. And speaking of sensitive data, I'm curious about the compliance side of things. There are so many regulations around data privacy, and they seem to change constantly. How does CIM help organizations stay on the right side of all that?
CIM is a lifesaver when it comes to compliance. It basically gives you one central platform where you can manage and enforce your security policies across your entire cloud infrastructure. And because everything is consistent, it makes it way easier to meet those tricky regulations like GDPR, HIPAA, and all the others. Audits become much less painful, and you drastically reduce the risk of getting hit with those massive fines.
So it's not just about protecting the data itself, It's also about protecting the organization from all the legal and financial headaches that come with non-compliance.
You nailed it. CIEM is all about building a more secure, agile, and compliant cloud environment. And in the end, that translates to a stronger, more resilient business overall.
This has been an incredibly eye-opening deep dive. I think we've clearly established that CIM is way more than just another security tool. It's a game changer for any organization that's dealing with the complexities of the cloud. But before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
Sure, as the cloud continues to grow and change at this crazy pace, how do you see CIM evolving to keep up? Will it become the gold standard for cloud security, or will something completely new come along and take its place?
That's a really interesting question, and I think it's something that everyone working with cloud data should be considering. We've only just scratched the surface here, so we definitely encourage you to explore CIM further and see how it might benefit your organization. Thanks for joining us.